Yana Bhutare Sayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Varakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhikanta Namostute Jayatam Saruto Pango Mammadir Matirgati Matsava Shaparam Bhoja Radha Madana Mohanam Sriman Rasarasanam Vamsi Vada Karsan Venu Shanarabhya Gopanata Sri Esraha Divyadvindrani Kapaduvada Srimad Ratnagara Shima Shanashto Shisi Radha Shila Govindara Prastalabhi Savamanushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajigari Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudadajaja Mangalam Panidi Kaksho Mangalaya Tanohari Om Narayanaya Vidmehi Vasadevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Chavidmehi Vishnu Padni Chidimi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastibhyam Namastibhyam Saraswari Hari Priya Namastibhyam Namastibhyam Dhyadiri Tapti Kanjana Gauringi Radhi Vindavaneshwari Vishavanasude Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Om Aginati Marandasya Ganangara Sarakya Chaksurun Militam Yana Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavishtam Shtapitam Yana Bhutare Shrayam Rupakaramyam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parikamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahaganada Gandatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vitam Sta Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutade Srimati Bhakti Vadaja Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharine Nirvishes Sunyvari Praskada Desadadine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, Lilavati. Good morning, Vaibhavi. Vaibhavi put an emoji of a parrot, a red scarlet macaw parrot emoji, which is appropriate. I got to go to the airport this morning to pick up Patricia Longbottom, who about 2 years ago donated our scarlet macaw, Bhaskar, to us. She's flying in from San Diego to visit him, and her plane comes in at 9:11, and so I plan to leave at 8, which means that we're going to have a abbreviated class this morning. Normally we go to 8:15, but I can't afford to leave at 8:15. That will make me too late to pick up Patricia at the airport. So I'm going to leave at 8 o'clock, which means we'll only have about maybe 15 minutes to talk about our topic and bring you up to speed. Yesterday, we talked about the gradual elevation of the soul from the supervised bhakti, the mechanized bhakti, to levels where bhakti becomes more natural. Our relationship with Krishna is revived, and we step into the comfort of it all, just like a small child. At first, when it tries to walk, it tries to stand, its legs, muscles can't support it. There's not balance, there's not coordination. So he doesn't really have the stability in his legs, the muscles, the balance. So he gets up, he falls down, he gets up, he falls down, he gets up, he falls down, he gets up and falls down. But every time he gets up and falls down, he gets more strength, he gets more balance. So eventually, after a lot of discomfort and trial and error, he's able to stand, and his standing is not very stable. He's swaying. It's very precarious. He may be able to stand for a while, and then maybe he'll stand for a little longer. Then it's kind of funny because the end of life is like the beginning of life. The end of life, it's very hard also to keep our balance. One of the most common accidents that old people experience is falling, breaking their hips. My mother fell, my father fell. Old people are often seen with walkers. It's an effort to keep them from falling because that's their penchant, is to fall. Similarly, small children, they go through a lot of inconvenience, a lot of discomfort, some pain. But it's all in a good purpose, because once they get their legs back, they've walked in so many previous lives, so they're not learning anything new. They're reviving what they already know, you might say. But once they have achieved that revitalization of their walking powers, then they don't just walk, they skip, they dance, they leap, they jump, they play basketball, they play football, they play volleyball, they go surfing. Once you revive that innate power of walking and mobility, then there's a lot of ways that you can sharpen it. There's a lot of ways that you can develop it. But it's not achieved without some discomfort. I gave the example last week of a newly married couple who had an arranged marriage. They're very awkward. They're stilted, embarrassed. They don't know what to say. But gradually, as they go about their duties and perform that which they're trained for, the tension eases. There becomes a relaxation, an informality, a comfort in one another's presence. And eventually, as that thickens and expands, there's physical intimacy, and then the result, the fruit of their love is a child. Eventually they have a child. Another example is you play on a musical instrument, how difficult it is, how foreign it feels, how much strain. I remember when I don't play the harmonium very well, but I know a few tunes. But even in the beginning, excuse me, I gotta get a lozenge here. But even in the beginning, when I was learning, a few tunes and learning the scales, after just a minute or two, because you haven't used those muscles, your hands get very sore. They start aching. Take some practice before the muscles in your hands get used to running up and down the scales of the harmonium. But if you keep practicing over and over and over, eventually not me, but I haven't got to that point, but there are many who have got to the point of playing effortlessly, not even giving it a thought. But it all starts awkwardly. It all starts in a formal way. So we talked yesterday about how even though we're worshiping Radha Krishna, and Radha Krishna in their own abode exhibit themselves very informally. Krishna is usually bare-chested. He goes out in the dust and with the cows and the dung and the heat and the cold and the wind, and he engages in these pastimes with his intimate associates. There's nothing formal about it. He doesn't bring along people to fan him. He doesn't have AC. He doesn't have central heat there in Vrindavan. He basically lives a natural life and puts up with inconveniences, puts up with inconsistencies. And those who associate with him, the gopis and the gopas, are completely free of any material motivation whatsoever. We're not at that point. We're not at the level of the gopis or the gopas. So we submit ourselves to the process, rising early, following the four regular principles, chanting a measured number of rounds on our beads, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, submitting ourselves under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And in many ISKCON temples, the worship of Krishna is quite formal. For instance, in Los Angeles, the worship is very elaborate. Krishna doesn't go bare-chested. That would be unthinkable. He's always got elaborate costumes with a lot of embroidery and the costume jewelry and crowns, beautiful crowns and backdrops. There's a tremendous amount of work gone into the decoration, the apparel, the garments, and then the earrings and crowns, the deities. In fact, the deities in Los Angeles are called Rukmini Dwarkadish. They're not called Radha Krishna. They're called after Rukmini and Dwarkadish, who are expansions of Lakshmi and Narayan, not even Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna are there, but we're not there at that level of Radha Krishna worship. We're not at that level of informality. And so we worship Krishna in most ISKCON temples and all ISKCON temples with pomp and formality. We worship Radha and Krishna as if they were Lakshmi Narayan. And eventually we'll come to a higher level of intimacy. Now, what I've been talking about yesterday and just today is about how we go from formality to informality, from the bottom to the top. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as Krishna's own devotional incarnation 500 years ago, revolutionized the process. He turned things upside down. He turned the whole thing on its head because we are living in this age of Kali, the most degraded season of the cosmos, typified by quarrel and hypocrisy. If you take birth in the age of Kali, it means your lifespan is truncated, your intelligence is much less, your habits are irregular, you have very little seriousness about spiritual life. In every way, the inhabitants, the residents of Kali Yuga are disqualified from advancing in devotional service. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took us to the top. Prabhupada gave the example of the Empire State Building. Very painstaking if you have to go take the stairs up to the top of the Empire State Building. It's like 150 stories, quite exhausting and time consuming. But there's also an elevator there whereby with just by taking 3 steps into the elevator, standing there, you go without any effort to the top floor. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized that we're not in good enough shape, so to speak, to take the stairs, to go step by step. The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes all the steps by which one can come up to devotional service. But we can't follow any of those steps in Kali Yuga. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very kindly, Namo Mahabhanaya Krishna Premapadayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gorta. He's installed an elevator for us to the spiritual world. He's given us the highest thing first. He's given us pure love of God in the form of the Hare Krishna mantra. Nam namakari bahodani jasarvashishi tatam yata shmaranena kara tadashi tava kripava durdayami dushami ajani nunaran. In this age of Kali, the Hare Krishna mantra is particularly potent. It's been around since forever. It's mentioned all, the most ancient of the scriptures. But in this age of Kali, Kali Yuge Ashmin Yuge Janaha Manda Samantante Mahapati Taham Kritya Deato Trete Ajana Dwarpare Kalotad. The Hare Krishna mantra has the specific potency to deliver those who recite the words Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. It's the medicine. It is the religion for the age. In those words is contained every truth of the Vedas. Through those words, one can experience tears from the eyes, the eruption of goosebumps on the body, the standing of hairs on end, all from chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The Lord, his mercy potency is full. The name is fully equipped to empower the chanter with everything the chanter needs to awaken love of God from within one's heart. One needn't go through the various forms of yoga, penances, asceticism, philosophical speculation. One may be a good scholar, one may not be a good scholar. One may be austere, or one may be not so austere. But if one practices controlling the tongue, number one, by chanting and speaking exclusively about Krishna, and number two, by eating prasadam, vegetarian food, offered to the Lord in love and devotion, then by those two activities, one controls the tongue. And when the tongue is controlled, the other senses follow suit. Of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and difficult to control. So if you control the tongue in terms of eating and in terms of speaking, then 60% of your spiritual life is achieved. And it's only a matter of time before the real nectar, the real substance, which is contained within the mantra, reveals itself. There's no lack in the mantra. It is the fact that we're still learning to walk. We're still learning to revive our spiritual legs. Through many, many millions of incarnations, we've neglected devotional service. Just like Gajendra, he took birth as an elephant in the heavenly planets. Time is calculated differently in the heavenly planets than it is here. Our 6 months is one day of the heavenly planets. And he lived for 1,000 years by the calculation of the heavenly planets. But it had been a long time since he thought about Krishna. And yet he didn't have to start all over again. He didn't have to start at the beginning. He didn't have to go back to square one. Krishna arranged such circumstances that when the croc latched onto his leg, he was thrust, he was propelled instantaneously into a life or death circumstances. And in that life-ending battle between him and the crocodile, his consciousness reverted back to the prayers that he'd composed and uttered in a previous life as King Gajendra. Gajendra, Elephant King in danger's grip, his mind stripped of arrogance, his history unzipped, recalled mantras from a previous life, cut away his attachment like a knife. Formerly, King Gajendra, now in elephant form, yet the prayers echoed, weathering the storm. Mantras resurfaced from the past, transcendental sound, awakening memories profound. And the refrain of this song is, even if a devotee strays from the path, Krishna in the heart keeps track. At the right time will take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Krishna, you're the cause, the result, the witness supreme. Transcendental, the stream, unseen behind the material screen, the life in the machine. Please protect me, Lord of all might. Guide me through the darkness up to the eternal light. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna's heart keeps track. At the right time, he'll take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Krishna, you observe the transcendental preserver above this creation, aloof like the sun. And yet with your energies, you bless everyone, simultaneously apart from this world and one. Even a devotee falls from the path, Krishna in the heart keeps track. At the right time, he'll take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Through multi-potencies, you manifest your will. Create this universe, your purpose to fulfill. And when it's time to end, you absorb it all back, like a spider retracts its web into its sack. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Chant Hare Krishna, the Mahamantra's call. In this life or the next, it will never fail. Once the seed is sown, the bhakti kripa will grow. Sooner or later, you will go back home, back to Godhead. Even if a devotee like Gajendra falls from the path, Krishna the heart keeps track, even after 1,000 years, by the calculated demigods. At the right time, he takes up the slack by sending the crocodile to precipitate a life and death situation. He will carry what you lack. All those thousands of years of forgetfulness, of obliviousness evaporated, and Gajendra was immediately transported right back to that razor-sharp, knife-edge consciousness that he'd enjoyed as a devotee King Indra in his past life. It was as if no time had elapsed whatsoever. He was immediately back there, snapped right into his previous devotional consciousness. And in that life and death situation, all other considerations, attachments dissipated, just as the sun dissipates the fog in the morning. And similarly, Gajendra was right back again on that knife's edge, calling out for the Lord with every fiber of his being. He'd already advanced 99% of the previous life, so he only had 1% to go. And he closed that gap. And eventually, he'd revived such purity that he said, I don't really care. He said, I want to die now. I want to die. First, he was calling out, completely hysterical, stressed out. No, I don't want to leave this elephant body. I don't want to leave my wife and kids. But now Krishna has taken up the slack, carried what he lacked. Krishna's brought him right to the critical point. And Gajendra's relaxed. He's let go. He said, I don't now want to be saved. Why would I want to continue in this elephant's body? In this body, I forgot you for 1,000 years. So let me relinquish this body and get a body whereby I can remember you. such a total transformation of consciousness, a revival of consciousness. And all of it was enacted, all of it was implemented by the Lord, that though Gajendra had forgotten the Lord for 1,000 years by the calculations of him, because the Lord never forgot Gajendra. He was just biding his time, giving him that material satisfaction that he had hankered for, satisfying whatever residual desires he'd had from his past life. And once those were fulfilled, now is the time. Carry what you lack, cut the slack, bring you back home, back to Godhead. That's what the Lord did for Gajendra, and that's what he'll do for his devotees. Even those that have strayed from the path, Krishna will eventually take up the slack, carry what you lack, and bring you back home, back to Godhead. That's all the time we have today. I've got to rush off. As I said in the beginning, if you weren't there in the beginning, I have to pick up Bhaskar, our Scarlet Macaw, the lady who donated Bhaskar to us 2 years ago. Patricia's flying up to visit him. She'll be here from Tuesday through Saturday. She's also sort of an incipient devotee. She's seriously considered becoming a vegetarian. She's got herself a Bhagavad Gita in Spanish and japa beads. So we're very excited to have Patricia visit us for 4 days. And we hope that Bhaskar will also be pleased to see his former owner, his mama, coming to visit him. But I do have to leave right now to pick her up at the airport. Thank you, Bhai Bobby, for joining us. Thank you, Lilavati. Thank you, Prince Habib. And we've got what I can see here, one poetic offering by Brent, which goes as follows. In this age of Kali, there's nothing greater than taking the Maha Mantra elevator. Just control the tongue and watch the other senses follow. All of their studies, pentas, yogis, practices, and mental speculation will ring hollow. That bears repeating. In this age of Kali, there's nothing greater than taking the Maha Mantra elevator. Just control the tongue and watch the other senses follow. All of their austerities, penances, yogic practices, and mental speculation will ring hollow. Well, our session today was short but sweet. I think we'll be back tomorrow for a full 45 minutes. I don't have anyone to pick up at the airport tomorrow. So we'll spend a little bit more time tomorrow. But thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.